My package will be delivered to your house next week. Make sure you receive them. I'm moving in with you to educate you as a decent wife to my son. Make sure I get my own room, okay?
That's what my mother-in-law said when she called me out of the blue. Move in? Educate me? What the hell was she talking about? My husband hadn't said anything about moving in with me indoors. And what's the big deal about educating me? Who the hell does she think she is? And the next week she really moved in. But when she saw her son in the house, she screamed. And there, she would find out the truth about who needs to be educated, and that the house where she lives is nowhere to be found. My name is Krista. I've been married for 2 years. I met my husband Eddie through a friend, and we hit it off. After 3 years of dating, we got married. We are both working, but each of us had lived alone before. So both of us are capable of doing a full range of household chores. Therefore, after we got married, we decided to divide the household chores among us. Whoever had more time took the lead. This seems to have worked well for us. We have never had a problem. But recently, as my work has become busier, my husband's share has increased a little. I felt a little bad about that, even though it was a rule we had decided on together. So I sometimes bought a cake for him on my way home from work, or by eating out on weekends and treating him to a nice meal. I feel like I'm bribing, but my husband is always kind to me and says, "I'm happier this way, don't worry." I always think that I married a really good husband. I hope those happy days will continue for the rest of my life. Just as I was living my life like that, my father-in-law passed away. It was sad, but my husband accepted it as inevitable to some extent. For my mother-in-law, who had been with him for many years, it wasn't that easy.
It's very hard for her to be alone because of the loneliness of losing her husband so suddenly.
She began to visit us frequently. On weekdays, she comes after my husband, and I finish our work. And on weekends, she sometimes comes in the morning. To be honest, it's tough for us that she visits us in the morning on our days off. But I can't help it. From work. But I can't neglect my grieving mother-in-law either. So I decided to stay by her side until her wounds heal and she can recover. As I continued this lifestyle, I realized something. The reason for my mother-in-law's visit had somehow changed. In the beginning, we would just have tea and chit-chat. It was about the world news, or work, or how well I was getting along with my husband. I didn't mention my father-in-law because I wasn't sure whether it was appropriate to bring him up or not. When the conversation turned to my father-in-law, she would sometimes shed a tear or two at the memory of him. I quietly stood by her through those times, but lately she's been talking more and more about me and my housework. Giving me advice is one thing, but basically warnings. The fridge is not organized. Laundry is not done in a proper way. Too many frozen foods or prepared food. I have often heard such comments. It's true that we share the household chores, so we can't do anything too elaborate with our meals. Perhaps it's because my husband and I are both a bit on the clumsy side, but I've never really paid much attention to such things. Even about having kids, we don't think about it yet. I understand what my mother-in-law is trying to say. If only she would overcome her loneliness and visit us less often, then I would be able to take care of the housework better. I didn't dare to tell her that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I just nodded my head and said that. One day, on a holiday, my mother-in-law came to my house as usual. And when she saw my husband washing the dishes, she suddenly shouted at me.
Eddie, why are you doing the dishes? Stop it. Krista, you should be the one doing it. You are the wife.
I froze in my tracks. But my mother-in-law doesn't care about that. She took the dishes out of my husband's hands, sat him down on a sofa, and pulled me to my feet. I was a little irritated as I was forced to stand in front of the kitchen, but I tried to speak as calmly as I can.
Hey, we both work, you know that, right? That's why we share the household chores. Today, Eddie happens to be the one doing the dishes. So I don't leave everything to him. So you know.
Don't talk back to me.
I tried to explain, but my mother-in-law wouldn't listen. She wouldn't even try to understand. If my husband could at least explain it to her, maybe she would be a little more open to it. I looked at my husband with such hope. He nodded as if he understood. I felt a little relieved that everything would be all right. But my relief was short-lived. Then came the unexpected words from my husband's mouth.
Hey Mom, it's not good for your health to be so upset. But I think you have a point. I'll make sure Krista gets it right from now on. Krista, you should apologize to Mom too.
He looked at me. What? What the hell? Why don't you just tell her that we are sharing the chores? I wanted to say so, but I felt there was no point in arguing with my mother-in-law.
Well, be careful from now on.
I apologized to my mother-in-law and put the matter to rest. After mother-in-law left, I confronted my husband.
What the hell do you think you are doing? Why am I the bad guy here? If you were like that, there's no way she would understand. You could have told her directly, and she would have understood.
Sensing my anger, my husband said.
That's not what I meant.
He started to make excuses.
I was just trying to smooth things over. I'm sure Mom wouldn't understand if I told her about we share the chores. You know she's not a modern type. You don't have on your side that I didn't agree with her on this matter. She'll understand someday, you know?
That's what my husband said. We've known each other long enough to know that's not how he really feels. In fact, I think he was hoping that he wouldn't have to do the housework at all. My husband was always a little cunning. However, he had never been a person who has been rude to me or annoyed others. That's why I was so angry at him for not showing remorse. But I was tired, so I kept quiet and let the day pass. Well, we had shared the chores up to that point. All right, I had such faint hope that things would be back to normal tomorrow. But since that day, my husband has been blatantly skipping chores. He doesn't do the housework like he used to. I thought he was sulking because I had confronted him about his mother. But I don't think that's the case. So I decided to give him a warning. But my husband responded with a simple answer.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. The next day, my mother-in-law came to see me without any notice. She had at least contacted me before, but today she didn't. What was going on? Was she in some kind of trouble? I was a bit worried. What my mother-in-law told me was something else entirely.
I see you still haven't done your chores. Don't you want your husband to eat well, do you? I just got a call from my son. Krista doesn't cook. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in a while. See, Eddie texted me.
I couldn't help but glare at my husband. Did this guy just tip off his mother behind my back? No, I didn't do anything wrong in the first place. It was a calculated attempt to make me look completely bad just because he didn't want to do his chores. His plan worked, because as a result, my mother-in-law came over more often than before. My husband stopped doing chores altogether. I had to come home from work and do the chores that my husband was supposed to do, who comes home earlier than I do. If I wasn't so busy at work, I could handle the housework with ease. But my work has not yet left the busy season, so I have to cut back on my sleep and do both work and housework every day. Physically, I was reaching my limit. I thought I would collapse if I didn't do something, so I decided to talk to my husband about it. However, at an opportune time, my husband became busy with his work a little while ago. I couldn't find the time to talk to my husband properly anymore. I thought that with both of us working, it couldn't be helped. But my husband's work schedule was oddly unusual. It became normal for him to come home after midnight on weekdays. Even on his days off, he sometimes works all day long. In the worst case, he would stay overnight at the office because he thought it was a waste of time to come home. Just the other day, I was thinking of talking with my husband about chores. Now I'm starting to worry that he's working too much. So whenever I could see him in the house, I would ask him,
Are you okay?
Yeah, what? I feel fine.
He replies with a tireless face. It's good to know he's fine, but isn't he too energetic? If my husband is really working so hard, I should be able to see a little bit of fatigue on his face. I wonder if he has so much energy to spare. If the company is forcing my husband to work that hard, wouldn't they be violating the labor standards? With this in mind, I decide to talk to my colleague, Anne. Anne has a family member who works for the same company as my husband. But when I told Anne about it, she gave me a suspicious look.
It's certainly a busy season right now, but I don't think they work that hard. It may vary from department to department. It's not like it used to be, you know?
So my husband's hard work is a complete lie? Well, at least we know something doesn't add up. Oh yes, could this be? My husband doesn't come home from work. I've been so busy with work that I haven't been able to keep up with the housework. That house was a wretched mess. Tomorrow is my first day off in a long time. I could clean up this mess if I devote my day off. I had planned it like that. But my mother-in-law came at the wrong time.
What's with this room? I can't believe the moment I entrusted you with the housework, the house turned out like this. No wonder you forced my son to do the housework.
I was about to say that when I thought back. That's right. There's no point in arguing with this mother-in-law. As I was brooding over this, my mother-in-law made a face as if she had just thought of something.
I just remembered what I have to do. I'm going home for the day.
With that, she headed for the front door. I was expecting her to be angrier. What was she thinking? But if she was going to leave, there was nothing I could do about it. But a few days later, my mother-in-law told me something even more frightening.
Cologne, my package will be delivered to your house next week. Make sure you receive them. If I see that messy room, I have to do something. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm gonna educate you as a decent wife to my son. You should be grateful that I am moving in with you. Make sure I get my own room, okay?
I answered the phone when my mother-in-law called, and she said those selfish things. She didn't even discuss the move with me. She just called to let me know that her stuff was on its way. I really wish she'd just stop taking advantage of me like this. If you were to do this, I have a plan. I decided to carry out a plan I had in mind for a long time. The day her stuff arrives, and my mother-in-law moves in, I got a call on my cell phone from my mother-in-law. I ignored it because I couldn't be bothered to answer it. The calls kept coming in over and over again, endlessly. I had no choice but to answer it. And then I heard my mother-in-law's crazy voice on the other end of the line.
What the hell is going on here? Where are you? And who the hell is this woman with my son?
I couldn't help but laugh, as I had never heard my mother-in-law's restless voice like that.
What's so funny?
I had to laugh. I didn't expect the plan to go so well. The truth is, I wasn't home that day. I told my husband I was going away for a trip for 3 days. I knew that he would bring his lover into the house with him. When there was a discrepancy between my husband's busy schedule and the information I had received from a colleague, I ordered a background check from a credit agency. On weekdays, he used the company car to go to his lover's house. On weekends, they were together in hotels or far away from home. To top it all off, he was even getting paid overtime for the time he spent cheating on her. So I bet a man like that would call his lover when he heard his wife was going away for a while. But then, my mother-in-law and the movers arrived to show my mother-in-law the shameful affair scene of her son. This was my plan. The phone still connected me to my mother-in-law. I told my mother-in-law all about it. She was speechless. I could only hear her gasping for breath. I would have loved to see the expression on her face. The 3-day trip was also a fake, by the way. I was visiting the real estate office to sign a contract for a new house and cancel the lease on my current house. I was in the middle of it when I got a call from my mother-in-law, so I've been keeping the realtor waiting.
I was busy with the cancellation of my lease, so I'll just say what I want to say. You made fun of me and said I needed to be educated. Do you know who needs to be educated here? You also said that a woman should do the housework. But who do you think pays the rent? Me. Your son did the housework because I was busier than him and made more money. But he is very busy having fun with another woman right now, isn't it? Whatever. As for divorce and alimony, I will contact you through my lawyer later. Don't get involved with me again.
As I was about to hang up the phone, my mother-in-law was crying and pleading with me.
No, I just canceled the lease on my old house. Where will I live when this house is gone?
You've been happily blaming me all this time. Now you turn to me when things go wrong.
It's none of my business. Talk to your idiot son.
I hung up the phone. After a while, my husband and I divorced. I was able to get alimony from him and the person he cheated on me with. There are good lawyers in the world. Also, my ex-husband was fired from his job along with the cheating partner as a matter of course. I heard through the lawyer that he was dumped by her soon after. I would have liked to see 2 idiots get together and live a life of misery, but I thought that would be a little too harsh to wish for. Instead, the lawyer told me an interesting story. There's still one mystery left in this story. One of the reasons why my ex-husband was so energetic may be the adrenaline rush from the fun of the affair. But the biggest factor of all was that he was using a lot of over-the-counter drugs. It was ridiculously simple, but as it turned out, my ex-husband had developed some internal organ problems as a side effect of the drugs. He was no longer able to work as hard as he used to. I guess you can't overdose on anything. I don't know how or where or even if they are still alive, but that's not my problem anymore. I'm enjoying my new life of freedom. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next video.